I want you to hear us today as two people that haven't had the smoothest road forward.
What is it? What is it? All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hey RX Friends We Got This podcast, where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experience as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
As we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. Because at the end of the day, remember, friends, we got
We got
this.
this.
Hi, Thu.
Hey, Sally. Good morning. It
Good.
sounds like you're having a chaotic morning today.
I really am. I promise. I was like, it was calm in here like 30 seconds before you said, okay, let's start recording. But we're good. We're good.
Yes. How are things? How have things been since we last talked?
Things are good. I'm busy. For me, around this time of the year, my presence on social media like goes nuts. Because residency applications are going on right now. This is when I feel the most needed, I think. With my social media presence and the people I engage with online. So people send me a lot of different things in my inbox, and they email me a lot of stuff across all of the social media platforms, and I go through and respond to those via video content. Sometimes I post on LinkedIn as well with some of the content, but that's been going on. So people are applying for residencies, and I've just found myself working a lot in addition to being a fellow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of things on your plate, I feel like.
Yeah. In addition to being a successful podcaster, I'm putting successful.
Podcaster. I was gonna say
I'm putting successful in front of it.
we are
We're
successful.
killing it.
I mean,
We're
I
killing
do
it.
want to give an update about the podcast. I think in a way we're documenting our journey as
We really are.
podcasters,
Yeah.
new podcasters trying to launch this show, really.
With no clue what we're doing.
Yes, definitely. You know, when we first started, we were like, yes, we are building the plane while we're flying it. And
Literally.
I definitely think that's so cool that our listeners get to see what it is like to be entrepreneurs in that sense. And so, do you have an update of how you're feeling, of what's going on, like your thoughts and feelings about it?
I'm overwhelmed, but in a good way. I think
Okay.
I think that I believed that this podcast would do great. I really genuinely at my core believed in it because
Yeah.
we genuinely just wanted to help. Like we wanted to step in and fill a void. That's like what our vision and mission, like initially, like when we both talked, it was just that like we felt like there was this void and we could fill it. For the mission and vision to have been that simple and realize that it was spot on.
Yes.
Spot on. And people are responding positively and people are invested. Like they send us feedback like, you guys need to do this.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that we're building a community. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's slowly growing, and
it
I
is.
love that people are engaging.
Yeah.
And the other day I sent you somebody had like used one of our reels in one of their clips in their own reel. Like, I guess, what is it called? Stitching? I don't know all the terminology of online. But the fact that somebody had seen our reel and decided it was relevant enough to add that into their own post, I was like, what is happening? Like, our conversation is becoming part of just this community online, this pharmacy
Yes,
community online, which for
yes,
me, that is successful in my book. You know,
a
that people
hundred
find what
percent.
we're saying relevant enough,
Yes,
relatable enough. Like,
yes,
that's more than I can ever wish for. I don't want to
100.
necessarily change the world or anything, but
We're
small
changing it.
steps,
But
right?
we're changing it though.
But we are. Oh, I was telling Sally, I was reflecting on my first time ever being on a podcast, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this
Yeah.
because pretty much about a year before we launched Hey RX Friends, We Got This, I was invited to be a guest speaker on a podcast. And this was
Yeah.
like a podcast that, you know, showcased a lot of different types of healthcare providers, not just pharmacy. So it was just a really broad, like you can speak about whatever you want kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
I remember, you know, being really nervous about it, but excited. And I remember, you know, recording it. And then I remember after we recorded, I had like a minor meltdown. I know I have a lot of these like types of emotions running through me, especially when I do something new, but I just was like, oh my gosh, I just went on this podcast and talked about pharmacy. Did I say the right things? Did I represent us
Oh,
in the right way? Like, I was really, really, really scared. I literally was like listening to the podcast and being like, I think we need to cut this out. We need to cut that out. I mean, talk about sweating. Like, I am not a sweaty person, but I was like cold sweat because I really thought like I did something horrible.
oh
And
no.
fast forward a year later, and I'm like giving my opinions about pharmacy left and right. And I'm like, I don't think that's right. And you just like how a whole year can change, right?
I'm like having such a hard time reconciling those two people because the person you are today is like, no, pause, right click right there. Let's explore that. Let's talk about that. I want to right click on that point right there. Like you're not giving anyone hall passes. You want to check everyone at the door. It's like, no. Let's clear that up. Let's clear that up right now. So it's like difficult to reconcile that, like you were so worried about how you maybe have
how I came off
how you came off.
and how I presented
That's so
pharmacy.
interesting. That's
I
so
know.
interesting. I
That's why I
think
was curious how your first time was because
uh,
I'm like, were you always just this poised in front of a
I don't
camera?
know. You think I'm poised? Oh my God, that's my win for like I'm winning at life. Poised. I don't think I've ever been described as poised. Oh my God.
You did
Mom,
it.
I
You
have
did
to tell
it.
my mom. I have to tell my mom. I have to tell my sister.
Guys, listen, Sally needs this feedback. She needs this validation. Write it in the comments below. Tell them, tell
I
her how
needed
amazing she is.
I needed that. I needed that. I'm winning. The I think my first podcast experience also was non-pharmacy related. And I think the beauty of that was so I've shared here, I am a chronic kidney disease survivor. And the other part of my presence online is sharing and being really transparent about like how that part of who I am contributes to how I show up in the world and the things I care about and the things I'm passionate about with patient advocacy, medication access, medication affordability, healthcare equity, and things like that. So I get invited to be a part of panels or podcasts to talk about that because the other thing I'm also really vocal about is the transition from being a pediatric patient to being an adult patient and how like that transition from having parents that have kind of been responsible for your health to now it's you. You sign the consent, you go to the appointments on your own. And I think the first podcast I was on was really talking about that. And I remember just my anxiety being around how comfortable I was to share about myself and who I am. In my culture, people don't necessarily talk about what they go through, like the emotions of
Yeah.
existing. It's not encouraged. It's not really a thing. We deal with everything in the family. Everything is very protected. The struggles and the challenges are very protected. It's our family business, so we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that being my anxiety and being able to talk about my challenges with my appearances, the changes, being a person who didn't have scars to a person who had scars as a teenager, and explaining those scars at school about having surgery and the change in appearance. So that was hard because I didn't know how my family would respond to displaying, like putting my vulnerabilities out there
Yeah.
on such a large scale. But then Lord and behold, they were just like, it's great to see that you are talking about it, because I think it's going to help another young girl realize that she's not crazy for feeling how she feels, which is what my goal was. Is just the isolation that comes with being a person who lives with anything. I want to do something to change that, and however little I could. But yeah, I didn't have cold sweats. But I was nervous. I
Yeah.
think the first time you share,
Yeah.
right?
Any first time. But
Any
you
first
made
time.
but we made it through our anxieties and we're here now and you feel so confident talking about, chronic disease or
It's
chronic kidney
wild.
disease now. And yeah, it's
It's a
look
little
how we've
crazy
grown.
too. It's a little crazy.
It's a little
That's
crazy.
Can you hear my dog barking? I apologize.
That's okay. I'll cut it out.
It's no, because it's part of the chaos I'm experiencing this morning in this house. We went from like super still to this situation in here today.
By the way,
Um,
I've been editing our episodes and I feel like I don't edit out a lot of things. So sometimes I kind of watch it over and then I put the intro and I put the outro and then I'm like, okay, that's
off
it.
we
And I
go.
put the little music thing in the beginning. But yeah, I love that it's almost like we're live in a way, but not
Yeah,
really because I can
yeah,
edit stuff out. But I like keeping a lot of this kind of like real life, real reaction stuff,
yeah.
because it's just fun to see what people are up to in the background. Like, what
I
is going on back
know.
there? Yeah.
It's not always polished.
No.
It's
And
not
that's not what
super
we're about
polished.
either.
It's
We are
not.
not polished. That's
Not.
not what we're trying to be.
No, no, we're not. Like, we're really not. And I hope, like, if you're listening to us, you can appreciate us for being not perfect, but having the courage to do it anyway
And embracing that
and
and
embracing
learning to
that.
embrace it because it is very difficult to
It is.
have to accept, some of your not so great qualities but
Yeah,
then also love the strong parts about yourself. But
yeah.
speaking of not being polished, I realized that we haven't introduced ourselves to the audience yet. So if you're listening,
Guys,
hi.
this is what I said about how she'll tell us right click there. We
I
just
am
have
on top of it. I mean, I love being able to produce a show just as much as I love to like be part of like the front facing person. I love like creating and the behind
the
the scenes stuff
back.
too. Like I love
You're
that stuff.
awesome at it. You
Yeah.
are
Oh.
you are phenomenal at it. I think that I have to say it, and the world deserves to know it.
Oh my gosh, am I gonna cry?
Um, how we are showing up, how this podcast is showing up. I I have to give Thu a 1,000,000% credit for how we are showing up as a podcast. And yeah, I show up, we record and everything, and we bounce ideas off a lot. Like that, the text message is live, honey. It's popping all the time. And I know she gets my text messages weird hours because of the time difference between us and everything, but I am so proud of how you've embraced this and leaned into your creativity and your skills, and because girl, you're killing it. I
Oh.
You're killing it. You really are. And you're going to produce my next podcast that
Oh.
I'm thinking about. And I'm
Oh,
not
I would
brave
love to.
to talk about it yet. Yeah, I'm not
Don't
brave enough
even need
to talk
to.
about it yet. But I have had this idea in my head for a podcast. And I was like, yeah, I think Thu's going to produce it.
This is amazing. That's so funny. You don't even need to pitch it to me. I already know it's gonna be a good one. And I'm like, let's just do this now. Let's just do it. No, just kidding.
Okay. Do you know what Thu is displaying right now? This is what you should not do when you're trying to make sure that you don't become overwhelmed. She's producing one show successfully, which is this show right now, right? And I'm telling her, I've been thinking about doing something else. She's no clue what I'm talking about, but she's like, I'm down. Let's do it. Please, please don't do
Sounds
that.
amazing. I know. I know, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Let's think about this. But I mean, I mean, speaking of which, so yes, I am Thu, and that is Saley.
That is me.
And yes, so Saley was kind of giving you guys an update on Resi Prep, which sounds like such a busy time, but it's also such an exciting time. And
Really
man,
is.
I would love to talk to you more about Resi Prep, because how you started it, how it's grown, and where it's becoming. And you're helping. I think I saw you post something about new uh practitioners applying for residency, and I think that that group of people need even more help than the students, your
Yeah.
typical residency candidates, because they don't have as much of that support.
Mm.
And so it's so amazing to see that you're actually doing that. So that's really,
Thank
really
you.
awesome.
I
But
appreciate you.
yeah, as for me with Empowered PharmD, I do have a LinkedIn Live series that I have really some really amazing ideas for next year.
Yeah.
It's like a lineup of people. I'm trying to curate people that I really want to talk to,
Yeah.
people that will inspire other pharmacists to do what they have always dreamt of.
Yeah.
Um, and just people that are really making big differences in the world. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to create this really inspirational show for everybody on LinkedIn. And
Awesome.
that's been kind of
That's
like in the works. I'm already writing down the names that I want to invite, and some of them I feel like might be beyond my reach in my mind, but I'm also
what?
like, no, no, no. Like if you write that
Yeah,
name down, you're gonna book them. And
absolutely.
yeah, so that's my
No,
dream.
don't. Let me tell you something, right? The postgraduate info series, when I was putting that together last year, I never believed that I would have been able to secure 47 people. And it was just audacity. That's how I did it. I want you to be as delusional as possible. I want you to be just get in your delulu era and go off. If you can think about a name and they fit the vision you have, put it down and
Yeah.
go after it.
Yep.
Because that series and the success of the postgraduate info series, it's just because I was super delusional in believing that I could just cold turkey call, inbox, and text people and say, hey, come tell people how you got your fellowship. Come tell people about your fellowship. Come tell people how you applied for residency, you didn't match, but you kept going. Come tell people. And they were like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I just didn't think that people would be comfortable sharing about not accomplishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So be delulu. I'm here
Good.
to cheer you on with
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
delulu dreams.
I love it.
Get in your delulu bucket, sit in it, and
Yeah.
just like go off.
Yeah.
And you're not even going to believe the magic that's going to happen, because I'm telling you, like, audacity is part of it.
Unapologetic.
Yeah.
Audacity. Yes. Yes.
What's
Let's
it
do
gonna
it.
say? No. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Next. Yep. No, I appreciate that support, and I needed to hear that too. And I'm sure a lot of people listening right now need to hear that as well. So this,
Yeah,
our conversation here is between you and I, but it's really meant for everybody to hear as well.
let's do it.
Hopefully we can keep inspiring you guys to go after it, and just as we are right now,
Yes.
going after it as well. So, all right. Well, today we
Mm.
are going to talk about. So we put out a post on Instagram, a poll on Instagram, by the way, if you guys want to hear more updates about the show and everything like that, and being involved in our polls, make sure you follow us on Instagram. But we put out a poll. I keep saying the wrong word. Oh, we put out a poll on Instagram that asked about what you guys would like to hear next. And a lot of people wanted us to talk about embracing failure and kind of moving forward on that. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be talking today, and hopefully that's going to inspire you even more around this holiday season. I know the episode's going to
Yeah.
be available pretty much the end of December, and this is a really good time for you to really hone in on the things that you're doing well, and be okay with just things not going right. And I think everybody's struggling around this time with the holidays and everything, but this is a reminder that everything is going to be okay.
It really, really will be
Yeah.
okay. And like, and I know we are going to get into all this and stuff, but this episode, if you are listening to this right now, I want you to hear us today as two people that haven't had the smoothest road forward. Like,
No.
no one's held doors open for me. Like, I'm just going to speak for myself. Like, nobody's held doors open. No one's rolled out red carpets. No one's even told us that doors existed. Like, in some experiences, I haven't even necessarily been aware that the door exists to target it. And so when as we get into what we're going to talk about here today, we want you to be mindful of the fact that if you're in a place right now where you feel like you failed at something that you've attempted, or if you're a person who's embarking on something like applying for residency where the possibility of not being successful is in the cards, if you're going to be realistic, it is in the cards because there are no guarantees. As you listen to us, please open yourself up to what you're going to hear today and know that it will absolutely be okay. Like, it will absolutely be okay. So I don't want you to listen and just be like, we're just going to tell you about the 10,000 ways that it's going to not work. But we're going to get deep into all of the ways that it's not going to work and then tell you how you can absolutely make it work for you, whatever it is for you. That's all.
I guess we're putting on our big sister pants today. You're a big
Yes.
sister, right? You're the older?
Yeah,
me too. So we're going to be putting on our big sister pants and tell you that everything will be okay. But before we do that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and write a comment in the comment section below and let us know what you would like to hear next from us, or just, have you been in your delusional era? Let us know about that.
Yes.
And if you're listening to us, please, please, please rate and write a review on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Let people know why we are the best companion when you're driving, walking your dog, or just relaxing, chilling. This is a really just chilling time, hanging out with us, talking about our favorite topics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Do it now. Okay. All right, Sally. So you're the one that kind of brought up wanting to touch on this topic. So I'm curious, what specifically do you think about when you think about embracing failure? Do you have a specific story or specific time?
I think that my relationship with failure is one that has evolved over time. So when I think early, I've always been such a good student, high achieving individual, horrible and super competitive because it's just secure the outcome, right? And a lot of responsibility was also placed on me early in life from a family and a cultural dynamic. I am the oldest of 7. And so all of what my parents have ever kind of instilled in me is that I have to live an exemplary life so that my siblings can follow in my footsteps, right? Talk about unhealthy, because all I've ever wanted for my siblings was for them to be so much better than me. Like, just be bigger, just go out and do all of the things I couldn't do, go out and do all those things. But they wanted me to set an example so that my siblings would see and follow and know that getting good grades were important, going after the big things were important. And so when all of that has been the narrative and ingrained in you early in life, the first time you don't accomplish, it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like it's crippling. It is debilitating. It is something that I couldn't work on, I couldn't comprehend. And it didn't happen early. It happened in pharmacy school. When I was at the height of my time in pharmacy school, I was just elected regional delegate. I was on my way to officially being one of the 36 most influential student pharmacists in the country. And I failed an exam that put me on track to not graduate on time from pharmacy school.
Oh no. That's
And
really scary.
I remember my mentor advisor checking in on me because she thought I would hurt myself. I collapsed in her office. I was on the
Oh,
floor. It took like, I'm having all the emotions back again. Like,
oh my
if I can, like,
gosh.
I can go back to it. This was academics. This was a place that I had control over all my life. And I didn't get the grade. I didn't get the grade I needed to pass this module. And now my entire future just
Yeah.
I couldn't see past it. I couldn't understand it because everything I knew how to do, I had done it, and I can't secure the outcome.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That must have been so, I can't even imagine that
Yeah.
because, oh, I don't, it's almost like you see your future just like drifting away. Like you have this idea in your brain of what you're gonna accomplish, and then
Yeah.
just that quickly it can just be taken away from you. And especially if you're young too.
Yeah.
Like you're early, yeah, well, I mean, you were in pharmacy school much later on, but like you're still just in the beginning of your career. You feel like it's just
Correct.
gonna be stripped beneath your feet. Like
Exactly.
that is, oh,
It was devastating because it happened in the fall, and
mm-hmm.
I had an entire spring semester in front of me that I needed to get through. And I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I had become so deflated. I'd lost all confidence in my
Yeah,
ability to do anything. And it was like, I still have 9 exams that I'm expected to perform on. How am I going to do this?
oh
And
gosh.
that's when I think I learned that I was made of something crazy, because not only did I come back and face that semester, but I came back and completely obliterated every single exam in front of me that spring.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that I was proving something to myself in that moment.
Yeah.
But like at our school, passing was 85. It wasn't 70 or 75. Like to pass a single exam, you
Okay.
have to get an 85.
Oh, okay.
Every single exam that semester, I got a 90, a 95 or better.
Nice.
And it was just, in some of the exam, I got like 100, 102, like from bonus points.
Oh my gosh, I love bonus points. Oh yeah,
Right.
I remember
But
those days.
it's just that every time I sat and, like, my now husband was my study partner. I would be in front of the laptop studying and randomly like bust into tears. And we
Mm.
laugh about it now, but the cry is always, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm so tired. And he was just like start coming down my face, and he would always just be like, okay, okay. So let's close the laptop. Let's go for a walk. Let's talk about soccer because we're both passionate about that. Let's talk about music. Let's listen to music. Let's do some. And this is, you know, I was like falling in love with him and didn't realize I was. But
Oh, that's very sweet.
it's it's how he was able to immediately distress me and force me to get out of that space and get back into game mode of, and he would always just say, it's about the exam in front of you. We're not talking about what happened in the fall. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this exam. You haven't even taken this exam yet, and the materials in front of you. Like, focus on this exam. For this exam, this is what the dosing is. This is what the pharmacology is. This is what the side effects are. This exam. Like, let's focus on this one. Let's not focus on what that other thing was.
Yeah.
And I realized like it was effective in helping me not bond with the failure, because that's what I see. I think a lot of people do. They bond with the failure. They bond with it. They start having that failure become a part of the fabric of who they are.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean it becomes a fabric of who they are? What do you see?
They start, so like when students don't match, for example.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I'm up against is helping them not take that outcome, that I'm sorry you didn't match, be a reflection of what they are, who they are, what they can contribute, what they can do, what they are capable of contributing.
Mm-hmm.
When I failed that exam, it was like, you're not smart enough to get through it. You're not capable.
Can I double check with you on something? So in your school, it's like almost pass fail.
It is 100%
so then
pass fail.
If you get like an 80% on a test, you failed.
You fail. I got
That's
an
insane.
I got an 83.9.
That's
and it was
crazy.
I
No
know.
offense, but like that's not healthy, right?
No. But
because
that's
you're
what
like,
we
oh, I
signed for.
failed, but I'm like, but I'm thinking like 50% or below, like you actually bombed the test, but you didn't bomb the test.
No, I
That's
just didn't.
kind of madness, to be honest with you. Like that's a lot of unnecessary stress on students.
Yes, that was our world.
How did they figure out GPA?
Oh, it gives you beautiful GPA. But
I was gonna say, like,
I know. Your GPA is like really great, but also getting into Rokai is pretty much impossible, because you can have a 3.8 and not be in Rokai, because there are people that have 3.9, 4 point. Yeah, everybody's GPA is so high. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cause like when you're saying like I failed a test, I'm thinking like you completely like didn't study, you bombed the test.
It was an 80. We're talking about an 83.9.
Yeah,
that's plus.
That for you to be that hard on yourself.
Yeah.
On a result like that, can you imagine students at my school? Because like we go through A, B, C, D, or F. So they're like an 83. That is like a win for me. Do you ever hear like so what do they say? You don't have what was that saying in school?
Oh, there's a saying, C's get PharmDs.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But you didn't get that option. Yes, that's what students in my school were saying all day long.
Yeah, C's get PharmDs. And I would be like, what? B's don't even get PharmDs at my school. What are you talking about?
That is wild. I can't even imagine that kind of pressure on somebody.
So you see, like for you as an outsider, your mind's like blown, right? But everybody who went to my school is listening to this, and they know what I am feeling. They know what I'm talking about, because they have failed with 84s. You have to have an 84.5 to make it.
I don't think this is appropriate. Sorry, school.
It's like, we need to change this. This is not it. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I guess a lot of med schools do this too, where it's like, you know, pass or fail as well. So I guess it's very similar to that model. And this is not the time or place, but I just feel like that's very stressful on somebody to be like, I failed at an 83%. What? It's not real life either.
It's not real life. And I was like becoming comfortable and wrapping myself up in that blanket of failure and having that translate into every other exam I took that spring. And like my husband, he just kept reminding me, this exam is not that exam. This exam is this exam. This material is this material. And when I go through it with students, I tell them phase one was phase one, my friend. Let's not get distracted. Phase two is in front of us. And now there's a phase three. Oh my God, look.
Oh my God, there's a phase 3 now?
Yeah. If a residency is what we want, we're still in the game, baby. So the attitude I'm always bringing, it's like, okay, cool. Let's get to it. Get back with every program you interviewed with. Let's find out what they have to tell you about how you can be better. What didn't you have? What didn't you do well? What didn't? And I think like for them, the people that are able to brace phase two successfully from those that aren't, that's the differentiator. The people who kind of take the phase one outcome so personally and bond with it and think that it's a verdict on the type of pharmacist they are and will be, they tend to just say, that's it, I don't want to do it anymore. They didn't want me. And I know you're about to address this very soon in great detail. But I think for me, how that big failure, that big first failure, I'm so grateful for it, because I would move on later and go into residency and fail in ways that I thought were just unbelievable. And I handled that much differently because I was like, oh, the shock factor had already happened like 2 years ago. So it's just, okay. All right, recalibrate, regroup.
Yeah.
Avengers assemble. We've been called out. let's go do this. But that failure in pharmacy school was a blessing in disguise at that time, because a lot of what I've gone through since, even professionally in my job, failing at work in the sense of being told that I can't, vertical advancement was not in the cards for me, despite exceptional performance by all metrics. I wouldn't get promoted. I wouldn't get the title. I wouldn't get the raise. That was, to me, a personal failure, a professional failure. But I had to realize, like, that's failure on their part, not me. I'm out. Peace.
So, I mean, it sounds to me like you were able to overcome that first failure by changing your mindset, it sounds like, and then removing that failure from who you are.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson for you at that moment is that failure does not define who I am or my capabilities. It's just one moment in life, one moment in time.
In life, which is, and I remember one of my mentors telling me, like, Sally, your career is so long.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Like, and I remember when, like, she's saying it at the time, and I'm like, what are you talking about? But it's true. Your career, your life, it's so long. And this thing is happening at a point and a moment in time of that really long career. And so what I've learned over time is, with each of my failures, is to see it as that point in time. Take a step back. Don't bond. Like, really don't bond with it, but see it for what it is.
Really?
There's something in here I need to learn. And if I bond with it and form all these weird emotional relationships with it, I'm going to miss the lesson in here. I don't want to miss the lesson. I want to get the lesson. And once I get that lesson, I'm turning that into a quick actionable item and moving forward, moving forward. It's important to move forward from the failure. Otherwise, you can get stuck in it. And all of a sudden, all of the subsequent decisions that you're making them as a result of this one thing that's like just a point in time type of stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been very honest about my own failure not matching initially during phase 1.
Yeah.
And that process was very difficult for sure. And I'm trying to like get my mind back into where I was
Yeah.
when I found out that I applied to I think 8 programs. I only interviewed at 2, and then I kind of
Wow.
knew that okay, I probably my chances are not high
Mm,
at this point because the 2 places that I did apply to or that I did interview at, they were very competitive areas. They're both VAs. So I feel
gotcha.
like the VA programs are always so competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Um, which is so funny because I work at the VA now and I'm like, I get it, but I also don't get it. Like, why is it so competitive? Like,
Competitive.
I roll my eyes now at like the weird things that students are taught about what programs are supposed to be. But anyways, that's it for another day. Um,
Oh,
but when I didn't match, I think I was already kind of preparing myself for it because I kind of knew that it
um,
wasn't going to happen. It was kind of a slow progression of failure anyways. It wasn't just like all of a sudden I
gotcha.
got this result. So I kind of was like bracing myself for impact. Um and luckily my school had this one day where it was like the Friday after you get your or the Friday of the day that you
Yeah.
get your results or something and you
Yeah.
can like go to campus and then the mentors and the professors will have kind of like a game plan for everybody type of thing and like tell you how to
Yeah.
go through phase 2, which was pretty cool. At the time phase 2 was not really phase 2 yet. It was still in like
Yes.
the beginning of
Scramble. Yeah.
rolling it out. So it was phase 2 because I had reapplied and paid for these programs, but it was a scramble. It was still a
Yeah.
scramble. Like it was really weird. So I think if I had to kind of like go back and think, what did I do that was so different that allowed me to overcome this experience was probably, when I was a student, I was very, I was playing it so small. And
Uh,
when failure hit me in the face, I was like, this is it. No
yeah.
more. I need to go after this. Like I cannot live like this anymore. And here's the funny thing. So it was like the Friday that I found out that I didn't make it. It was Saturday that I had like met up with another resident and was like kind of going over what I could do better for the scramble. And
Wow.
then right after that, I drove to this church, which I'm not religious. I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. Neither is my family. But my mom and dad would take me to this church all the time just to kind of like, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know why they did it, but
Yeah.
we used to go to this church. So I drove to this church and I climbed this little hill and had like a little cross on top of this hill, but I climbed it and I sat like right next to the cross and I was looking kind of out in like the view and I was just
Down.
looking at it
Yeah.
and I was literally like, I'm gonna do this. Like this is what I'm gonna do. I'm meant to do this. And
Yeah.
that was it. From that moment on, I was like, nope, I'm gonna get a residency. Like there's no stopping me at this point.
Yes.
Because also right before I had like gone and done all this interview stuff, I got a job offer at Fry's Pharmacy. And I was like, I'm just gonna turn this
Oh,
down because I wasn't interested in working retail. So I really just put all my eggs
did.
in this basket and then it didn't work out. So you can imagine like maybe what, like 3 months out from graduation, I didn't have anything lined up. And that was
Yeah.
absolutely terrifying. I'm
I'm
like, what am I gonna
sure.
do?
I'm
Um,
sure.
so that was why I had this degree of like, no, this is gonna happen for me. I'm gonna make
That
this happen.
conviction.
It's a conviction. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was like no one's gonna take this away from me. And so after that, the weeks leading up to me getting my residency position, I just started calling all these programs. I called, I called, I
Yes.
called. I just like, no, I'm not gonna wait around for an email now. I have to
Yes.
do something. Like I need to step in and do something. Like grab life by the horns and just like go
See?
for it,
You
right?
see what audacity gets you?
Yeah, that's very true.
We're back to the power of audacity and
Yeah.
just going for it.
Going
I love
for
it.
it. I mean, at that point, I had nothing to lose anyways. So it was like, no,
Exactly.
I'm going after this. And it was
Yes.
just, I mean, it was disappointing because time after time, either nobody would pick up or I would be
Yeah.
passed around, by
Yeah.
different people, or they would tell me, no, we already filled the position. And this is the scramble. So essentially, like,
Yeah.
after you find out you don't match, you just start calling everywhere and
Calling.
then, like, grabbing whatever. And I was playing by the rules. I was doing the phase 2. I was applying
Yeah.
online, but everybody else was not playing by the rules. So then,
Yeah.
programs were already taking people, and so positions were not open that I thought was open. They were no longer available. So I finally called this one program randomly in Philadelphia, and they were like, "Hey, well, that position's already taken, but there's a residency program that's brand new. It's in Indiana. Would you like me to send you the flyer for that?" And I was like, "Yes, please. Like, let me
Yes.
look at that." And when I looked at it, at this point, I was going from, again, I had this idea that I wanted to be ambulatory care, but now I'm in this critical care rotation where I loved
Yeah.
acute care. And I was like, this
Yeah.
was what I was meant to do. What was I
Yeah.
doing? So so this program that from Indiana, it was a very like, typical pharmacy practice PGY1 where it was
Mhm.
mostly acute care, a little bit of AM care, but it was mostly acute care. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the right one for me. It seems like it has everything that I need. I will be its first resident, but I'm going to take this chance and I'm going to take a risk to at
Yes.
least talk to them and see what they're about. And for a fact that like another program recommended this other program to me, I feel like there's a
Yeah.
rapport there. So yeah, I took a chance, I took a risk, and years later I'm a clinical pharmacist. So
You are pause, right click. You are a thriving, successful clinical pharmacist
yeah,
doing exactly what you want to
yeah,
do.
100%.
I really hope, and the reason why like I connected with you originally was because I wanted her to share her residency application experience,
That
which is on
story.
the Road to Match Day podcast. You can hear her whole full episode as she outlined this whole thing for you there. But
Yes.
I think that the power in people like through sharing their story, and I think many of them underestimate the power in their story, respectfully,
Yeah.
Thu. I think you underestimate the power in your story and your journey to where you are now, because to you, it was just like, I made a choice. I made a decision that I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to give up. And I just went out. But the power that I think that exists in sharing stories like yours is it demystifies it for people. It lets them know, like, you are a regular schmegular girl who just made a decision not to quit. It really
Yeah.
was just that simple.
Oh,
And when I see regular people accomplishing things, it gives me so much strength and courage
yeah.
and believing that I can do it too. I can do it
Yeah.
too. Like,
You guys can do it too.
you can
Yeah.
absolutely do
Well,
it.
thanks, Sally, for breaking it down so simply because sometimes I'm like, what was it that gave me that determination to go after it? What was it? And you're right. It's simply a choice of, I'm not giving up. This is not
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can even imagine if I didn't match also that year. I think that that choice of, no, I'm going to go after what I want.
Yes.
So what? It's simply just that choice, isn't it?
It is. It
Isn't that so
really
wild?
is.
Just that I'm not giving up. I
Up.
want this.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It took up. Okay, dude, I love how extra she gets. And she's like, wait a minute, we're having a moment. We really are. But it's true though. Like, and that's why I preface this by saying to you that, yeah, we're about to lay it all out. Yeah, we're about to tell you how hard it was. We're about to tell you how dark it got, because I believe in the truth of the journey as well. I believe that me sitting up here and telling you guys how I have enjoyed a very fulfilling career and have enjoyed the power that doing residency has given me over my career, without telling you that that power was earned, without telling you that that freedom and that success has been earned, and that it's been dark and that I have failed numerous times. I haven't always gotten all of what I have aspired to get. would be false, would be inauthentic, and would be unfair. I don't want to put that out there to anyone. I want you to know that what I have enjoyed professionally so far in my career, it's been earned, and it's come with some failures that have been really, really difficult to accept, but I accepted them and chose not to let it get in my way.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we can definitely dive into failure in our professional career after residency as well. I think that's another episode on its own that really does need the attention for one whole episode. And then dive into just some of the other failures that we have experienced. So maybe in this one we kind of focus more on that student and residency just in that early phase of our career. But there are moments, not even just trying to get a promotion, but like when I first started my job as a clinical pharmacist, I almost cried at work because of the stress, but also just difficulty handling toxic work environment or just toxic people. And I really had a rough time my first year as a clinical pharmacist. So I want to dive in all of that, but those all deserve its own episode. But
they really do. We really,
there's a lot of stories to tell.
We really need to do a whole episode on managing toxic work environments.
Oh gosh.
You grad to, because as a new grad,
people don't talk about that.
We don't like, as a new grad, it's like shocking. It's shocking that you can find, like, wait, I've been in environments as a student where people believed in my potential. They cheered me on. They were like, you can do it. You can do it. To now,
people questioning you.
People are going out of their way to like, what? What is
this? They are literally making you question your own ability to practice. And it's
what?
We need to talk about this another episode because even moving
We're not gonna ruin it for you. We're not gonna ruin it for you here.
This is a trailer, a spoiler, and it's
a trailer.
A little. But I do want to be, we're going to talk authenticity. I do want to add that my story of not matching during that first, the phase 1 of residency, that really I did carry a lot of that insecurity with me throughout my life for a very long time. And I do want to talk about that because that is really important, because after I didn't match and, I had to go through the whole thing, and then I ended up at a program where it was brand new. I was the first resident. There is a little bit of like fear that people would judge me for that whole thing. And so so that's one of the reasons, and I was never really honest with everybody, but one of the reasons why I did a PGY2 was because I'm like, well, I'm just worried that my story with my PGY1 is a little bit tainted. It wasn't perfect. So I'm going to do a PGY2 to kind of like compensate for some of that.
Wow.
Which I have to be honest with myself to say, yes, I want to do a PGY2 because I was passionate in geriatric. I wanted to learn more. The more education I have, the more that I can help my patients. But there's a little bit of that decision where I'm like, I need a PGY2 to make sure that people don't look down on me if I ever decide to share a story about not matching, and especially matching in a program that was brand new, not accredited at the time. There was a lot of shame that I had to like unravel and deal with, but I didn't, and I was also really young. And so I brought a lot of that chip on my shoulder to my first job, where I really, like, no matter what, I always just felt like I'm not good enough, like not smart enough, not good enough. Like there was always this chip on my shoulder. It wasn't until several years into that job that I felt more confident with myself and my clinical abilities, that I have realized, okay, now I can be truthful about what I went through, because people need to understand, like, because during at that hospital where I was working as like my first clinical pharmacy job, they had their own residency program, and they would not match during phase 1, and then they would have to scramble. And sometimes there is that weird feeling of like, oh no, the program didn't match and now we have to scramble. What if we get a bad candidate from
Yeah.
Scramble. And that was when I
Yeah.
had to speak up and say, I went through the Scramble and
Scramble.
I'm
And I
fine.
assure you, yes, I
Yeah. And
assure
I assure
you
those people
that
are not
they're
like these leftovers that you
good for
imagine
you.
in your brain. And so I
Yeah.
really did have to speak up for those candidates,
Yeah.
that were going to scramble into the program. And the more that I did that, the more I was able to embrace that story.
Yes.
But, it has taken me a very long time to gain back that confidence of when I'm like, it wasn't that I'm not good enough. It just that it, that it was just the lessons that I had to learn.
I agree. I mean, I applied for a PGY2 where I was doing my residency and didn't get picked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, by the time that decision came down, I was like you with phase one with that one.
Mm.
I'd slowly kind of seen it and saw that this is not going to work for me here for what I envision myself being able to do and what the environment I want to learn in and what I want that environment to do for me, but also what I want to do in that environment. I couldn't do it there. So both the program and myself had come to a realization that it wasn't going to work. So when I found out about that, I wasn't devastated by it one bit. I wasn't hurt by it one bit. Like I don't think I would count that even as a failure. But I came to a realization that my career, I would have to build it from the ground up, and immediately went into a strategic plan. So if I'm not going to do a PGY2, what else can I do to make sure that clinically I am sound, clinically I am competent, and I have the credentialing necessary to be able to step into those spaces so that my credentials and my skill set would speak for itself. I knew that board certification was the next step forward. I had to get board certification if I didn't do a PGY2 to be able to be competitive for those clinical positions. But I literally just sat down, and I remember taking an afternoon and mapping out a strategic plan for myself. And I found this renewed sense of purpose and excitement for my career and couldn't wait for residency to be over so I could get going. I could get to the next job. I could get to, I got my first job offer without even interviewing for it. I ended up not taking that job and taking another job because, again, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. So instead of going to a place where I'd been an intern, it would be a comfort zone, I went to a place where I knew nobody. I wanted to do something. I wanted to prove to myself that this past year of all this learning, I picked up a thing or two and I had something to contribute to a place. And so I can really relate to like what you are talking about with carrying that with you and carrying some of those insecurities with you. I feel like I would be lying to anybody if I said that, oh, with each of the failures, I just took the lesson and moved forward.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
it's not
The
that
insecurities, the insecurities will live there. They will follow you. But I think what's important is, I think awareness of them probably is the most important thing. Like knowing that, hey, this is an insecurity. I don't know if this is a real feeling, but this is just like a little thing I'm insecure about. And I know I am insecure about it. If I do this little thing, I'll feel better about it. But I think you're so brave and so bold and so, I'm like completely enamored with you and all of what you do, because I think I respect the journey so much and where you are now. And I think that the students today, because of how I engage with them, when I'm telling them, don't give up, don't quit, some of them, they're like, well, you matched at phase one. You don't know what that. And I'm like, but I know what failing is like. I know what it's like to identify a goal and give that goal your 150%, then have nothing to show for it. Then have nothing to show for it. Like nothing. It's like, wait, but I did everything I knew and was told to do. And in the end, I didn't get it. I know what that's like. And I think I can kind of still speak to that. So I think when people like you who did go through that and did go through that phase one email feeling talk about it,
Mhm.
it hits them differently.
I
It
know.
it hits them differently. I think they hear you in a
Well,
way.
I hope so, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny, I saw a like a meme or something where it's like, yeah, people just tell you it's okay, you got this all the time, but nobody tells you how. And sometimes
Oh,
the how itself is up to you
you. Mm,
because everybody is going to decide on how to tackle a problem differently,
yeah.
but it's just the fact that you see that it can be tackled.
Yes.
You know?
There's a way forward.
There is a way forward, and that path is very different for everybody, and
It is.
but like just know that I went through this really big failure. I overcame it. I got what I wanted.
Yes,
And now I'm learning to deal with the repercussion of that failure because failure lasts with you for a very long
it
time.
does. It
But
does.
it's interesting. I've mentioned before I've gone to yoga and do a lot of the meditation stuff. And
Yeah.
one time during a meditation, I an idea came into my brain and it was like, you have not lived. So my brain is telling me this, but my brain is like, you have not lived a perfect life, but you have lived an interesting one. And I was
Mm.
able to accept that idea of the fact that I my life wasn't perfect, but I would rather live an interesting life. I would rather have
Ooh.
all these experiences and live this big full life than just have everything be given to me and not learn anything. Isn't that so crazy what yoga meditation can do?
To go to yoga?
Huh?
Do I need to start yoga? Is that the other thing I'm picking up
Yes.
here today? This is the second time you've talked about really profound experiences that have
No.
happened at yoga. And oh
Yes.
boy. Okay, so
Isn't that so crazy?
I don't
But
believe
they're
in
like
New
the
Year
meditation,
resolutions,
they're
but
like more of like the meditation classes. They're not necessarily the movement ones. I mean, I love both. I love yoga as like the the active movements, but I also love yoga as like just a meditation, like even yoga nidra, which is more of like a yogic sleep, very meditative type of rest. You literally lay down and you just kind of rest. We'll have to go through this like offline or something because I can go like so much into it. But
wow. I
yeah,
have not
sometimes
lived a perfect life, but I have lived an interesting life. That,
yeah.
like, when I think about that statement for my life, not only is it a complete thought, it is by far the single most accurate representation of the journey I have had so far. Because all of the ways that things could really go wrong have, right? Like, what it's like, pick a point. Like, I'm literally thinking about it. If I picked a point, like the year I got married was the year I found out that my transplant of 15 years was failing. I had to resume dialysis. My
Gosh.
bachelorette was canceled because I was in the
Oh.
ICU with acute kidney failure. Like, every everything that could go wrong would go wrong, but then I had the most amazing wedding experience. I had the most amazing time on my wedding day. I don't remember
Yeah.
being nervous. Like, it hasn't been perfect, but it has been so interesting
Yeah.
fully. And I don't think that I would redo any of it differently to have it be perfect.
No.
That's why, like, that statement is hitting me so hard because it is true. It is true in my life. And I know you're saying it's true in your life. I can't imagine. It's probably true in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's
We need to think
okay.
about yoga meditation
Yes, totally. But it's
because this is the
complete.
second time. This is the second time. This is not the first time.
Yeah.
You've shared
It's
really profound things that have come to you in these moments, and I
yeah.
think I'm going to speak for the people in that we would love to hear more of these revelations
Yes,
that
I
you're
need to go to more
having.
yoga then and like
Yes.
try to conjure these ideas up in my brain. But Yeah, sometimes just deep down in your core, who you are as a person and your intuitive self, it can show up in like yoga meditation, or just sometimes it shows up when you really need it. And there's like so much background noise, and so it's hard to
Yeah.
pinpoint like who you actually are. But then when you receive these messages, you're like, okay, that was me, and like I'm trying to
Yeah.
soothe myself. And yeah, those are really beautiful moments, I
I
know.
love it.
So I'm glad that we're ending this kind of, this thing on failure on a higher note. Bear's
It is.
acting so needy right now. I don't know
Who
why.
Bear? Oh, he's so cute.
Play with me.
Bear, he wants his time. Bear's like,
Exactly.
I want my time. Oh, he's so
Exactly.
cute. He's so cute.
Wait,
Yeah. This episode, I think we are ending on a positive note.
yes.
Life doesn't have to be perfect, but lean into your interesting journey,
Yes.
because it's gonna be, especially if you've chosen pharmacy as a career path. Let me tell you, it is an interesting path that you've chosen. You've chosen a very interesting path,
Yeah.
but pharmacy is
Yeah.
no different from life. The power, lean into your power. And one of my favorite quotes, I think I'm about to misquote it, but it's about not giving up your power. Like, like making sure that you are aware that the power is yours
Mm.
in any situation that you are in. But the first step of like losing your power is believing that you have none. That's, I think, the quote. Like
Interesting.
losing your power.
We can definitely like post it too below in the comment section or
Yeah,
something. If you
I'm gonna
find it.
remember what the quote
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's take a quick break and then
yeah.
we'll be back. All right, everybody, we're back.
I
And we
got a
have,
I got a package from Thu with
yes,
instructions not to open it until now. So,
yes, we're gonna open on camera.
guys, oh boy.
Got mine. It's
Oh
already
my
opened.
God.
What is it? What is it? Wait, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
You hear me? You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh my God. Ooh, wait.
Can the camera see it?
Oh my gosh, guys, look at it. There was
We're gonna have to wear them next time. It says we got this on the sleeve. Yeah, with a
we
heart.
got this on the sleep. Hey guys, I think Thu is just hinting at the fact that we've got merch coming real soon.
I don't know about merch, but I
Merch
wanted
coming
us.
real soon. Merch coming real soon. I love this. Okay. Okay, guys, prepare for all of Heiko Rezis. If you're listening to this, you're going to see me in one single uniform all of the 2023-2024 residency application season. All of the TikTok videos will be in
Oh,
my
I
new Hey
know.
RX Friends sweatshirt. I love it.
Yeah, we needed to do something to celebrate Christmas and the holidays. And
Oh,
so,
dude,
making it
I
truly,
love
truly official with our own merch. I guess this is
it.
not a launch for a merch line or anything like that, but this is
Pick
for us to
color.
wear and continue to promote what we've been working on. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so
Did you
much.
notice that I get white and you get like a salmon pink color? It
Yeah.
matches our logo.
Yes, it does. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Like I
I thought
said,
it all through.
she thought it all through with the little even the color of the stitching is.
Yeah, the color match. Yep, exactly. We have to.
I love this so much.
Well, I'm so
I
happy
love
that
this
yep,
so much. Thank you.
this is so cute. Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm shooting us some videos today, so this will be it.
nice, nice. Well,
People are gonna be like, does she own anything else?
like, why do they keep wearing that?
Why does she keep wearing the same? Oh,
Oh,
thank you. That's so
yeah.
good. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
yay, I'm so happy we get to match now.
I know.
Um, but yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody who,
Yes.
or well, when we post this video, it's gonna be after Christmas, I believe. But
Yeah, I hope it's
Merry
been
Christmas
safe.
anyways. Happy
Happy New
holidays.
Year.
Yes, yes.
This
We're gonna we're gonna need to do an
2024.
awesome video for New Year's.
Yes.
You're gonna have to figure it out.
2024 is going to be phenomenal. 2023 has gifted us this podcast.
Yes.
It's gifted me a new sister in
Aw.
business with Thu. And so I'm just like, and Thu is planning this big thing with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We love your support. We love that you look for us in all of the other places that we are in to support us and show up for us. And we want to show up for you. It's why we love it when you talk to us. It's why we love it when you rate and review us. It's why we love it when you just text us, because you know us like that. And you just text us and tell us what you think we should be doing and plugging in. But we are doing this for you, and it's been fulfilling for us. And we are hoping that by the time you hear this, Christmas was safe, it was fun, it was enjoyable, and that you're preparing for a 2024 that is going to have clarity and purpose, that all of what 2023 didn't have is waiting for you in 2024. We love you guys.
Yes, exactly. Yes, let us hear from you. We sometimes I talk to Sally, or record these podcasts, and sometimes I feel like I'm talking to no one, and I know I'm not talking to no one, but it's always really nice to like get a message that's like, hey, I really like this episode, or hey, you guys should do this, or that was funny, or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I am talking to somebody, it feels real. And so we really appreciate your support, and until 2024.
Bye, guys.
So crazy. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if it speaks to you, please share this episode to those who may need to hear this. And that way it will reach even more people.
Yeah, we are available YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please connect with us on all the social medias, both individually, but also on the Hey RX Friends We Got This. We are on all your favorite socials, Instagram, TikTok. Thu and I individually on LinkedIn, as well as Instagram and TikTok. All of the links to those socials and how you can connect with us with the show and individually will be linked here below. And remember, at the end of the day, and until next time, don't forget, we got this. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.